Welcome back. In this video, we'll just finish up setting up our grid limitation here and making sure that we can't move the pieces beyond our border here. And so we need to go back into our script, and we want to be in the Tetris05 controller. And what we're going to do is basically sort of limit our movement here. Now, what we're going to in fact do is let the movement occur, and then sort of within the same frame, check to see if it's valid. And if it's not valid, so if you're sort of moving outside, we're going to push it back. And because it's in the same frame, you're not going to notice the difference. So what we're going to do is, let's just start with the first one up here. So with the right arrow, we're going to allow the movement to happen. And now what we're going to do is we're going to check if that movement was valid. So what I'm going to do is put a statement there, if check is valid position. So we're going to run this function, or sorry, this method here. Okay, so check is valid position. And then we need another bracket there. And then, so this is, we're going to run this. Basically, check, just want to make sure this is okay. Check is valid position. And I'm just trying to figure out why I'm getting a little bit of an error here. Check is valid position. It looks okay. 1, 2, 3, closing that up. We'll just see what happens here. If that's okay, nothing happens. Okay, it basically is able to do what it should. Okay, I was just upset with that. Else, okay, so there's going to be an else here. If it's not okay, so basically, if it's not going to be in a valid position, I'm just going to copy that. We're just going to reverse this. So instead of increasing it by 1, we're going to decrease it by 1. So it does actually do this, and then it checks to see if it's valid. And then if it is invalid, then it will sort of kick it out. So I just want to make sure my brackets are okay for that. Okay, good. And now basically this is going to be the same thing down here. So I'm just going to copy this. Okay, for the left arrow, it's going to be the same thing. The only difference is, so we did a plus the negative arrow, so this one would have to be a positive one. Okay, and while we're at it, let me just think about this for a second here. And so we just need to do the same thing down here, although time will always go, so I'm just going to put this right in here. The difference, of course, this one we're moved on the Y, so that went down 1 on the Y, so we have to go make it positive 1. Now this should prevent us moving. We have to do a little bit more with the up arrow here. We'll get to that in a second. Let's just see how this works. Make sure I don't have any errors, as I always do. No, no errors. Okay, so let's just see how this works. So I'm just going to check the left side. Whoa! We've obviously got something not quite right there. I think my issue was the time was running a lot quicker than it should have then. Let's see here. Else. That's still in here. Oh, just a second. Is that... No, that's check user input. Okay, I just wanted to make sure there. So, as we saw, my piece was just falling straight down. Didn't look much like Tetris there. And so the error that came up was that this line 64, it said, so line 64 here is talking about the game manager. And so my thing I forgot was we don't actually have the game manager on anything inside the game. And so what we'll do is just close this up, clear it. We're going to go to the, actually, just close that up here, throw the game manager onto the grid. Okay, so once you throw it onto the grid, that error will no longer come up, and we can move it around. Now, I'm not quite too sure why I've got a little bit of error there in terms of the location on the side. It's not quite lined up. I'll just have to fix that up. And the bottom there, you can see that we've got a bit of an issue as well. And we'll get to that. That's actually quite easy to fix. One other thing is we still are also able to rotate, as you can see. So we need to fix that condition as well. But the first thing that I'll do is just fix the grid. I thought my grid was in fine shape there. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down -1 as well. Okay, so that should fix up the other problem. Now, of course, my camera now has to be pulled down. I think that would be 9 there. There, so we can see the bottom. Now, I still have the issue of it going over a little bit there and under a little bit on the other side. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. If you're having that same issue, I will figure that out and correct it. But we do still have the issue with it rotating when it shouldn't be rotating. And basically, we just need to do the same condition on the script. So we're going to go back to the script here and just fix up this arrow one. So it's basically the same as before, and I think I still have that code saved. So I'm just going to paste that in. So the only thing is that, so we're still going to check if it's a valid position, and it's just going to move back the rotate. So we had transform.rotate. Let's just get rid of this. It's a little bit different. I'll just delete there. And so it's going to be now 0, whoops, I need the bracket, 0, 0, and then we just need to move it back. So we're going to go -90 there. So remember, we're always moving it, and then it checks, and if it's not valid, it returns it, okay? So let's just see how that looks there. Save it. Hope for no errors. Okay, so we still have the problem with it not moving in the right, but you can see now it doesn't rotate over. If I bring this down to the bottom, now there is that little bit of overlap as well. But the thing is I cannot rotate it anymore, so it won't let me rotate it outside of it. Now I still have, I'm just going to zoom in, and I guess we are on the 2D, so it's definitely not that issue. We just seem to be off by a little bit here. And what it looks like, these are the 1 units. So these are looking like it's just right in the middle there. So I might just have to move these guys over a little bit. So on my grid, I'm going to make this -1.5. And so that looks better. And then this also -1.5. And there. Now it's looking better. So let's just see how this plays. I might have to move my camera a little bit too. Whoops, of course I was on that. So -5. Okay. -1.5. There we go. And then those are lined up nicely on the lines. I'm going to just get my camera while I'm at it here. So I went down 0.5. So that's going to be 8.5. Perfect. And this, I think, would be 4 now. Well, it doesn't really matter, but I'll just put 4. Whoops, 3.5, I think, seeing it shifted. All right, we would still have to work on the camera a bit, but let's just make sure that that's looking better. Okay, now I'm off completely. Okay, whoops, so I've moved it the wrong way. I apologize. So that was -1. So let's make this just -0.5, okay. And we'll check out the other one in a second here. So the camera was supposed to be 5, I guess. Okay, so let's just check. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good. We can still rotate, but we're not going outside. Now the only issue is the bottom, and the bottom is fine. So I don't have to change that. Good. So everything's looking pretty good there. Hopefully yours is too. What we're going to do next, in the next video, is just do a few more little limitations there. for example, the square, we don't need that rotating at all. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it rotates. And the S and Z, again, those ones, sort of, we can limit their rotations because basically it can either just be 90 or negative 90. So we're just going to look at modifying those rotations a little bit. Otherwise, that's what we'll be doing in the next video. All right, we'll see you then.